2022 was yet again another active year for mergers and acquisitions across retail automotive. On today's show, we're joined in the studio by Steve Greenfield, who's the CEO and founder of Automotive Ventures and host of CBT's series Friday 5. Steve advises founders and owners and CEOs on mergers, acquisitions, and raising capital. So on today's show, we're going to be taking a look back at the year behind us, and we'll also get his perspective on the year ahead. So thank you, Steve, so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join us.
Jim, it's great to be here.
Yeah.
You're in my chair.
I know, I'm in your chair. That's exactly right. First and foremost, I don't want to go another minute without telling you or saying to you thank you for all of the content, the great shows, the great guests that you've had on. We've got such great feedback from our viewers that Steve Greenfield knows the industry. We listen to him, we follow him, we think he's awesome, so thank you for that.
Well, right back at you. I mean, I appreciate the opportunity. I get to sit in that chair, once a week and come up here, so I really appreciate it.
Well, let's kind of jump right in here. Let's take a look back at 2022. Give us your overall take on what we saw in the M&A area. And I know that you've really got your hand on the pulse of what's happening out there, not just on the retail side of dealerships, but probably, maybe more importantly, about all of the great technologies out there that are emerging and things that dealers really need to focus on as we move into electrification, as we move into further into digital retailing. And there's a lot of shakeup going on out there.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it was an interesting year, a couple of really big deals, but it was kind of a tale of two cities. Mm-hmm. The first half of the year, everything was flowing. There was money was flowing, and you saw early this year we saw Carvana buy most notably ADESA's assets, right? So the physical assets and how life has changed for Carvana since.
Unbelievable.
But that was like exactly the right moment to sell that asset to Carvana.
Right.
But things have really gone downhill for Carvana since. So we can talk about that. But the other big deal last year was CDK. And CDK transitioning from a public company to a private company, and yet to be seen what the implications of that will be. But with private ownership, things their playbook will be very different than a public company.
Right.
They will look longer term. I think that the latter half of the year, a lot of companies did go to market. Some had failed processes, so some sort of said, "Hey, there's not really an appetite right now."
Yeah.
I think from an investor standpoint, when they say you don't ever want to try to catch a falling knife.
Yeah.
But when valuations are resetting, as they have in the markets pretty dramatically, public markets, private markets.
Right.
I mean, an investor gets a little skittish because they're like, I don't want to be investing at this multiple and find out 3 months later it's a lot lower.
Right.
So I think, so to speak, to use the automotive metaphor, the investors tapped the brakes a little bit. Now we're starting to see more interest, I think, now that valuations have stabilized a little bit. But there's still uncertainty going into next year. What will happen with valuations?
Sure.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs that were going to go raise money or going to sell their business have now paused the process.
Right.
I think many investors who are looking at making investments have paused a little bit as well. We haven't seen that translate over to any slowing down in the buy-sell market for physical dealerships yet.
Yeah, that's for sure. Wow.
Despite the fact that the publics have largely focused from or refocused from buying to share buybacks.
Yeah.
We're seeing that with AutoNation, Lithia, et cetera.
That's right.
But it'll be interesting to see, if interest rates, if the Fed can control interest rates and we can do a soft landing with the economy and not go into a recession, then I think that we can probably get back to a very robust, buy-sell market quickly on the technology side, but to be determined.
So talk to us about some of the standouts in 2022. Maybe some of the ones you've been involved with, but what are the ones that jump out that you say, wow, these guys have really done well in selling their businesses?
Yeah, so I think mostly, as I said, come back to the ADESA deal with Carvana.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable, right? To see that deal transpire. I mean, it raised a lot of eyebrows, including I would never have expected that. I heard rumors that something was going to happen in the next week or so, but my goodness, right? So
that's crazy.
I think that the Carvana effect, if we want to call it, really has had a lot of implications on a lot of startups, right?
Yeah.
There were a lot of companies out there that were trying to do similar things. It's affected the digital retailing space, right? That market has softened a little bit as a result, and definitely other competitors. I'm sure competitors that are direct competitors to Carvana are probably appreciating the fact that they're under a little pressure right now. There's uncertainty about their future.
Yeah.
So I think that's had a lot of implications. I think that, as I say, the CDK acquisition, which was massive, maybe the biggest one we'll ever see in automotive technology, $8 billion.
Wow.
Will have lots of implications overall.
Sure.
I would suspect, there's everything's on the table there. They may divest assets, they may acquire additional companies, which means that a lot of entrepreneurs who are creating, interesting, innovative companies may get an exit to CDK in the future.
Sure.
And then you look at the natural acquirers of companies that have been out there, Cox, Reynolds,
Yeah.
CDK, and more recently JD Power. I think it'll be interesting to see if they still have the appetite to buy. I think what we will see, if nothing else, is with valuations resetting, opportunistic purchases.
Okay.
So there'll be companies like that are still very profitable and very successful, looking around and saying, are there companies out there that have interesting technologies that might not now have viable business models, or got ahead of themselves with not having the capital and can't raise?
Sure.
And I think there'll be some strategic acquisitions over the next year.
Okay. And then we also saw TrueCar make didn't they make an acquisition this past year as well?
TrueCar made an acquisition, and then Digital Motors,
Right.
Really fortifying their online full deal capacity.
Right.
And then you saw AutoNation make an investment in TrueCar.
Right. What do you think that play is?
It's interesting. I mean, read the press release from Mike Darrow, the CEO, who I used to work for out at TrueCar, and he said that they didn't announce it ahead of time, so that he had no heads up apparently that AutoNation was making that investment. AutoNation spends a lot of money every year on advertising.
Yeah.
And to get a site that has 8 or 9 million unique visitors per month and getting access to that audience would mean that they can really ramp down their own organic advertising,
right? Because
they can leverage TrueCar's audience.
Yeah.
Should they decide to buy the whole company, not to say that they will, but that could be something that they're testing this and understanding it better. Sure. But also, with TrueCar Plus, which is their initiative powered by Digital Motors, their acquisition, to offer the whole A to Z transaction online. AutoNation will be experimenting with that too. Maybe they like what they're seeing. And as they foresee, a future, again, influenced by Carvana, as we said earlier, where more and more consumers will demand a full transaction online, TrueCar might be the platform that really powers AutoNation to offer that to consumers.
Could be. What is your take on Carvana? What do you think it's going to make it, or do you have any inside scoop on that? Or
I don't really have an inside scoop. But my observations is, I think that kudos to Ernie Garcia and his team, no matter what you think, because they've opened the eyes of the world to the art of the possible.
Sure.
So no matter how it plays out, 10, 15 years from now, we will still be talking about Carvana
for sure,
because of the influence and impact it's had on raising the bar for all dealers.
No question about it.
A lot of dealers dislike Carvana with a vengeance, but they respect the fact that they have opened Pandora's box on a new way of shopping.
That's right.
I think the brand will live on. It's a very strong brand now. What's uncertain is who will own it, right? Because the debt holders apparently are collaborating now, and they'll be negotiating with ownership. And out of these things, when things get really ugly, typically the debt holders can take ownership of the business.
I know.
But it's in their best interest to have an ongoing viable company that can eventually get to profitability. It doesn't make any sense that in any circumstance that business gets shut down.
Right.
So I think it will exist, it will survive. Who owns it and how it gets capitalized, and whether it'll be a private company or a public company, all should get resolved over the next year. But
seems like a perfect play for one of the publics out there to acquire Carvana, and because the infrastructure is in place, they've also got ADESA and such, and it just seems to me at a low stock price and them being as vulnerable as they are, that it's be a great opportunity for either an AutoNation or a Lithia or someone like that, an Asbury, to step in and say, if we make some fundamental changes here, we turn this thing around, it could give us instant network of used car buyers.
Yep, I think that's a great insight and a possibility. My forecast for this year, we rewind the clock for a year, was that Amazon would buy Carvana.
Okay.
Maybe that's
another good player.
Maybe that's more likely now, right? But
at
some point, Amazon has to get in the automotive game.
Right.
Could they buy Carvana and rebrand it basically Amazon, powered by Carvana, and bring that to the market? And we know they effectively have an unlimited budget.
That's right.
But I think that all of this sort of debt needs to get worked out ahead of time.
Sure.
Once that gets cleaned up, a path could be a large dealer group that wants to fortify their online presence, or it could be a shopping site like Amazon, Walmart, somebody who has been wanting to get into automotive, hasn't yet. This could be a cheap way to get into automotive, if they can clear up the debt overhang.
That's right. Because a lot of consumers did like the notion of picking up your phone or going to your tablet and buying a car and have it delivered right to your door. Or if you're going to sell a car, pick up your phone, take a picture of your license plate, and somebody shows up with a check and a flatbed and they take the car away. So I know what you mean. I've spoken to a number of dealers that are not fans of Carvana because they're kind of like, it's like that thorn in your side where it's like, God, I wish those those guys wouldn't go out there and show everybody that that can be done. But it also raised the bar, and it also, I think I agree with you, that it woke up retail automotive to say, how come we're not doing that?
Yep.
And so many other technologies came out and said, hey, if you want that Carvana-like experience, you've got to put these technologies in your stores, dealers, right? So that we can go ahead and deliver vehicles online.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Look at what Lithia is doing with the transition to driveway.com.
Yeah.
Look at what CarMax is now doing through their omni-channel.
Yeah.
You can either get the car delivered or you can pick it up, or any combination thereof,
Yeah.
and give the consumers choice. All of that has been, they wouldn't admit it, but fueled really by the Carvana presence.
That's right.
And that's the influence this thing has had on the industry.
So let me talk to you about your book. So 2022 also brought a book, right? So The Future of Automotive Retail. If you have not gotten this book, get the book. We're going to show it, but there'll be a link right underneath this video that you're watching to acquire the book. It's something you're definitely going to want to read, especially as we go into 2023. You've really put together all of your thoughts very nicely and about the industry as a whole and what dealers and people should be looking for, investors. Talk to me about what you'd like the takeaway to be for the reader.
Well, let me talk about first why we need a book like this.
Sure.
So one is, as I've gotten to know dealers over the last 22 years, I have empathy for dealers because of this, right?
Yeah.
So one of the beautiful things about the business is the first of the month, every month, everything starts afresh.
Right.
Right?
That's for sure.
But dealers are, as a result of that, locked into 30-day cycles.
Yeah.
Their heads are down.
Oh, I know.
They're trying to deliver results for
Yep.
that 30-day cycle, and then it resets at the top of the next month. Talking to owners over the years is like there's frustration
Yeah.
that all of my operators are so fixated on this monthly cycle.
Yeah.
They rarely have time to look at the horizon.
That's right.
And anticipate what changes might occur.
That's right.
And then kind of work on longer term strategy at the group level. So I took the opportunity here to kind of break down a 5 to 10 year view around the big themes, the big trends in the industry, and try to translate those into the probability and the magnitude of what those things might mean to the average dealer.
Sure.
So that's really the genesis of the book, and it's been very well received. It's on Amazon. We've done well with sales.
Good.
And so I'm very pleased, and it seems to be well read in the industry. But there is a lot of change. As I make an argument in the book, we're going to see more change in the next 5 or 10 years
Right.
than we've seen in the last 100.
Okay.
And almost every week in the news cycle, as you report here, I mean, it's crazy to keep up.
It
It's
is.
hard to keep up on.
There's no question
So I
about
don't know how a dealer who's so immersed in operations
Yeah.
can possibly keep up on all the changes coming.
That's right.
Unless they really pay attention to CBT News and other outlets.
That's right. That's right. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about EVs. Obviously, this is the craze right now, and it looks like it's here to stay. It's estimated that about 12 or 13% of all new vehicle sales next year will be EVs. That's up from maybe 3 or 4%. So it's taking it's gaining some traction.
Yep.
And consumers aren't so sure about it, but OEMs want it in a big way. States want it in a big way. Talk to me about your perspective on EVs.
Yeah, so I think it's very interesting. It is top of mind for everyone right now. And the OEMs are getting rewarded by the stock market with talking about, hey, we're going to go cut over and go to 100% EV.
Right.
I'm a bit doubtful. I think that, as we know, there's inherent resistance from consumers around going to EVs. I think as a second vehicle, great. If you have an internal combustion engine vehicle in the garage as well. But there's range anxiety,
Yeah.
there's charging infrastructure, whether it's going to be available and whether it's going to be working. And then there's a speed of charge, because I don't want to have to go to a charger and wait 2 hours for a charge.
Right.
So I think that those things, range, charging infrastructure, and speed
Right.
of charge, really are the framework, cost aside, because these EVs right now aren't getting cheaper.
No, they're not.
Because a lot of the raw inputs are controlled by China.
That's right.
So part of what the Inflation Reduction Act was trying to do is take back more control on American soil of the batteries themselves and
Yeah.
the production of these EVs.
Sure.
So I think that what we're about to test, to your point, is what is the natural demand for EVs? I read recently that we're going to have 150 new EV models over the next 2 years.
Oh my
We're going to
gosh.
have plenty of supply coming on the market.
Yeah.
They're not all going to be home runs.
Yeah.
We're going to get oversupply in certain categories. And I think we're going to test what the natural ceiling is. My gut is we'll top out at 25% maybe of consumers that really want an EV.
Okay.
It may be the primary market vehicle if you're in a dense urban area and have access to charging. If not, I think as a secondary car, that's great. But I think that there'll still be a healthy market for ICE vehicles, unless the government bans them entirely. There'll be a healthy market for ICE vehicles over my lifetime.
Okay, really? Over your life? I mean, if we were having this discussion 10 years from now, you really think it might only be 25% still at that point in time?
Maybe get to half.
Okay, okay.
I mean, I could be entirely wrong.
But combustion engines are alive and well still. They're not out of the picture in 10 years.
I believe so, unless there's real breakthrough in battery technology.
Right.
If we can have a 1,000-mile range, lots of chargers everywhere on every corner,
right.
and those chargers can charge those vehicles in 5 minutes,
right.
similar to filling up the gas in your tank,
sure.
Then yeah, I mean, we could have a much higher penetration.
And then we've got almost 300 million ICE vehicles on the road, so for dealers that are nervous about, oh, what am I going to do with my service department if we're going ICE and these cars don't need as much, of course you can upgrade them over your phone, they can dial into the car, but there's still over or almost 300 million ICE vehicles on the road today, right? So there's a lot of runway there, for dealers to service these vehicles.
Yeah, I think the bigger threats to service, as we talk about in the book, is really over-the-air updates, as you just mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So almost every single car now is connected in some fashion, and that's only going to accelerate. You know, the OEMs will have the opportunity to basically send software updates to vehicles.
Right.
And you know, a couple of the consulting firms that I cover in the book are forecasting that a third of the warranty work and recall work could go away.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're seeing now with Tesla specifically, you can push a software update and change the driving dynamics of a car. You know, unlock extended battery life,
right.
Or range, I should say, more power to the vehicle, the driving dynamics, the braking dynamics, without a human ever touching the vehicle.
Amazing.
So it's opened the eyes to like the legacy OEMs that are now thinking about like, oh, I can avoid costs associated with recalls and warranty work by sending software updates. But they need to redefine themselves as, you know, software companies, which is not a small undertaking, and they'll throw tens of billions of dollars. And then associated with that is, as they become more software leading companies, they're also talking about subscription products. Yeah. So unbundling the features in the vehicle and then saying, hey, Jim, do you want to pay for your heated seats up front or do you want to pay on a monthly basis? Right. And this has a very visceral negative reaction from people. Yeah. But to me, it's like almost everything we pay for. I mean, you look at your phone. That's right. Is on a monthly basis now, right? So we've conditioned the next generation of consumers to pay for things on a monthly basis.
Including CBT News.
Including CBT News. There you go, exactly. Touche.
Little plug for CBT News.
But I think that, you know, if consumers are used to paying per month, why wouldn't I only want to pay for my heated seats in the months that I use them?
Oh, that's great.
And if it's like 9 months of the year I don't touch my heated seats, don't charge me for
That's
them.
right. That's right.
If I push the button and activate it, I'll pay for it. You know, it's like you change your thermostat at home and you only pay for the gas that you use.
Good, very
so
good point.
I do think that you know, it will be a next generation, and if the OEMs can thread the needle on this, I think the big debate will be how much of that revenue they share back with dealers. Sure. When you elect to unlock, you know, another 50 horsepower on your Land Rover, I mean, who gets the revenue?
That's right.
Because now it's 6 months after you bought the vehicle. You get a notice from the OEM, hey, Jim, you know, you can push this button and activate 50 horsepower for $100 a month. You're like, oh, great. That's great. That's great. But will the dealer even know that you pushed the button? I know. And how much of that revenue will get shared back with the dealer? That's right. All of those things still need to get worked out.
They do. They do. Well, Steve Greenfield, CEO and founder of Automotive Ventures, hosts of CBT's Friday 5. You've enjoyed them now for the last, I think, 2.5 years or such. So thank you again for all that you've given us here at CBT News. You make us look good, and we appreciate that very much. For those of you that will show it on the screen here too, and remember, there's a link right underneath this video, this conversation, to get the book. I highly suggest you get the book. This is a time when dealers need as much knowledge as they can about their industry, about this industry, and about the future, where we're going. You want to see around the bend, and you know, I think that Steve has done a great job in putting that in the book. So get the book for sure. Steve Greenfield, thank you so much, man.
Jim,
It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim.